Croeso, Jack. Nice to meet you. How you doing?
Good, thanks. Yeah, development's going well. It's pretty much done on the Victor Initiative now. So yeah, final steps now.
Nice, nice. I'm looking forward to learning more about the Victor Initiative. But just for anyone that doesn't know you, give us a little bit of a background on yourself, where you're from in Wales, and sort of games that you like to play.
So I'm Jack. I'm based in Llanbleddion in Wales, which is a little village in the south. It's technically connected to a larger town called Cowbridge, but they used to be separate. They kind of grew into each other. Yeah, I love all sorts of games, like horror games, action games, like anything really. But things with a good story, that's what I gravitate to the most.
So yeah, I can tell horror games are probably your thing based on what you're developing. Yeah, I first saw the Victor Initiative all over Instagram a few months back, and I was like, "What is this?" It's suddenly just appearing all over my feed. So I took a look at the Steam page, and I saw that it was set in North Wales. I thought, "Wow, that's so cool!" Like anything that's set in Wales, I don't care what it is. I've got to I'm not going to take an interest in it straight away. So I'm not great with horror games, but I still gave the demo a go. So I
cool.
tried to get through chapter 1. But it's really unique concept. So just give us a background on how the Victor Initiative got started, where the idea for it came from.
So it's been a really long journey, and the game has been rewritten about 4 times since I started working on it. So it started off as, I mean, you're going to hear this a lot in the interview. It started off, I played Alan Wake 2, which is massive inspiration. And I was also a big fan of Control, and I was like, I want to make a game in this sort of vein. So I got started on that, and the story really wasn't that concrete back then. So it wasn't set in Wales. It was just kind of set in miscellaneous government building somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I made a bit of gameplay. I was like, well, I have no clue what the story for this is going to be at all. So I did some more work on that. I was like, well, I could set it in Wales because that's a place that not many games really touch on. It's where I live. And I kind of started going with that, and every rewrite, the game has gotten more Welsh.
That's good.
Yeah, so by the time I settled on the actual story, there's a lot of stuff to do with Wales in the game.
Why because the opening chapter shows that it's set in Eryri National Park.
Yeah.
So is there a reason you decided to move it up north from where you live?
So I've been there a few times. I've been up Eryri, and it feels like a very kind of mystical place compared to there's a lot more, like you've got Cardiff down in the south, and all of this quite built up civilization, and then in the north it's more kind of little villages. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if, like, tucked in the mountains somewhere, there's just this huge government complex, hidden away from the world, because it's kind of the last place you'd look.
Yeah, definitely. Who knows what's going on in there?
Yeah,
it's true that a lot of games, sort of horror games, are set in Wales. I've noticed over the last few years. That seems to be the main genre of game that gets set in Wales. Like, what do you think it is that kind of draws people to it?
I'm not sure, because it's funny you say that, because I set it in North Wales, and then later found all these other games that were horror games set in North Wales.
Yeah.
So I guess we all just have the same idea.
Yeah.
I think it is just the kind of mysticism, and I think a lot of horror is kind of fear of the unknown, and especially lots of places, like the very rural places in North Wales, are a really good place to kind of tap into that.
Yeah.
And I mean, even you don't have to go that far north. I remember an episode of Torchwood that's set in like the Brecon Beacons, and that's a horror episode.
Yeah. So there's a puzzle element to the Victor Initiative as well. And there was a few code puzzles in the opening chapter, and it was hard enough trying to keep the focus on the horses as well as I'm trying to navigate It's the scariest thing. I'm so rubbish with horror games anyway. But where do you get the ideas for the puzzle elements, and what other types of puzzles can people expect getting through the other chapters?
So they're very inspired by escape rooms.
Mm.
That would be the main inspiration, and kind of like classic kind of keypad puzzles that you find in like your Resident Evils or whatever.
Yeah.
And most of the puzzles are focused on these codes, but there are some kind of more gameplay related puzzles. There are some specific enemy behaviors you have to deal with. And also somewhere in the game there is a puzzle that forces you to learn a bit of Welsh.
Oh, that's cool. That's amazing. I love that. Do you speak any Welsh?
Yeah, I mean, I took it at GCSE, so
Yeah.
I speak a little bit.
That's so cool. Ah, man. What chapter is that in? Do you remember?
That would be chapter 5, and it comes back up in chapter 7 as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I love that. And you've got a whole bunch of, I mean, the casting is insane. Like these actors, anyone that's like not heard of this game before, they'll see this list of famous actors and they're gonna be, what is this game? And why are there so many amazing, talented actors in this? Like, how did this happen?
It's such a funny story because it was so I a few times at BAFTA ran this like young games designers competition. So I'm 19, and I entered first when I was 11, and have kind of entered a few times since. And they are just really good at kind of supporting you and getting you out there. And I remember the first person I asked about this actually was a guy called Einel Tomlinson, who's an actor, and he's absolutely lovely, and he's the host of these awards. And I came up to him and I was like, do you want to roll in my game? You know, I don't think I can afford it, but, you know, and he was like, oh yeah, he was really enthusiastic about it. He's absolutely lovely guy. Absolutely great performer as well. So I got him on board quite early.
Yeah.
And then there's a developers conference that happens in Brighton every year that I was going to. And Sam Lake was going to the same conference. So I just hit up the BAFTA people. I was like, this guy is like my hero. Please just let me talk to him if you can, like get in touch. And the head of games at the time, Luke Hebblethwaite, got me in touch. And also, I just kind of, at that conference, ran into Samantha Bayat and Dave Jones at the same time. And they were really into it as well. And then from there, it's kind of just been reaching out to people. Been a few times that people have reached out to me. And yeah, just kind of going from there. And this might be your next question, but the Welsh actors, I met them through, I mean, another BAFTA thing. They've been so helpful with everything. They had specifically like a games industry like meetup in Cardiff.
Yeah.
In an artist's bar. I forget the name now, but it was just a really small group of people. It was me and a friend on one table, and then there was just this whole table full of voice actors who were all kind of friends. So I just we had a nice chat, and I went up to them. I was like, well, if I can find a place for you, I'll definitely you know, get you involved, because set in Wales, it's an obvious pick. And Ocean as well, who I know you've spoken to before. He wasn't in that group, but you know, I asked them about stuff, and all of them went, talk to Ocean, you know, he's great. So they were all really supportive of him. So I made a little group chat with the whole cast of chapter 6.
Amazing.
I was like, do you all want to have a part? And they all said yes, very graciously. So yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, on a personal level, yeah, I'm so pleased for Oshan, because when I spoke to him last year, at that time, you know, he hadn't had any video game roles, and I said, like, you know, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And this year, yeah, he's got 2. Well, he's had a hand in Busbound.
Yeah, I saw that. That's great.
Yeah, and then of course your game now. So I'm just so pleased for him, because he's so talented with his Welsh video game songs as well. It's just amazing.
Yeah, they're great.
So but yeah, brilliant just to see the Welsh actors. So it's kind of a bit chance maybe that kind of happened with the Welsh actors, or would it have been something you tried to
it would
make happen?
it would have been something I tried to make happen. And the main character is voiced by a friend of mine. We've grown up together basically. So we're both from the same area. And so kind of Welshness is a big theme nearer the end of the game. So chapter 6 especially, it was always a plan to have that happen. There's also a major character in chapter 6 who is Welsh speaking, and all of his lines are dubbed in with like English subtitles, but he speaks Welsh.
Only Welsh.
Yeah, only Welsh.
That's great. That's cool. I love that. I noticed that you had worked on a couple of other games as well.
Yes.
When I checked out Spacepiano games on Steam, which I didn't realize. So have those experiences shaped this development in any way?
So a little bit. So my previous game, Voidside, was very much a learning experience of how to make a proper game. And just kind of a lot of the lighting techniques and things moved over to the Victor Initiative, and just learning how to properly use the engine. The game before that, the Dancer, is like I was 15 when I made it. It was just like a stupid thing, but it did actually teach me how to use like the Steam interface and how to put a game on Steam.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, it's a learning experience. Not a game I'm particularly proud of these days, but it's like, yeah. It's a good learning experience nonetheless.
Well, what is it, like £1 or something?
Yeah. I would, if Steam didn't make it so much of a hassle, I'd delist it. But yeah.
Oh, it's you know, it's a piece of history.
Yeah, it's a piece of history.
Yeah, it's all relevant.
Yeah.
And so, how long has the game been in early access for prior to right now?
Since October. So about how many months is that? A certain number of months.
Year, isn't it? Yeah, it's a good half a year at least. So how has that shaped development up to this stage?
So early access has been really interesting, because it does help, like especially nearer the start of early access. I don't know if you played the demo past this point, but there is a difficulty setting now to turn off enemies for people who just want to experience the story, and other things like that, and just people running into bugs that I then fixed. So it's been really great to have a little bit of a community around the game before it's properly out there.
Yeah. Because there's a bit of a reading element as well. So I suppose those horses, if you're not keeping your eye on them, then it could get a little difficult.
Yes, and as well, it's like the reading element now, especially in the early game, you never have to read something and keep track of the enemies at the same time.
Yeah.
And then later in the game, like that's like an end game kind of chapter 7 challenge, where there is a part in chapter 7 where you're dealing with 3 enemies, and at the same time you're having to translate things into Welsh. It's very, very simple stuff, and it's a puzzle that appears in a much less difficult form in chapter 5. Yeah.
So even the absolute non-speakers of Welsh are going to be okay, do you think?
Yes. Yeah. You're just translating the numbers 1 through 4.
Oh, that's all right then.
So yeah.
There you go. You've spoiled it now. So. You've got some live action sequences in there as well, and I imagine that based on the opening intro, that those are probably close mates of yours that you did that with. Where did the idea for that come up, and why did you want to sort of work that into the game?
So there are multiple reasons. One is that surprisingly it's easier than animating a whole cutscene, and it's kind of more immersive in a way because you're not thrown off by weird movements. It's just real people.
Yeah.
And I find that it's easier to be scared when you're kind of attached to these real people rather than like polygons moving around. I mean, not to bash traditional cutscenes at all. It's just a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
And then also, again, big inspiration is Alan Wake 2. That has a lot of live action stuff and earlier stuff of theirs like Quantum Break. And
it's a bit of a lost art in a way, if you like. It's not really something you really see anymore, which I think is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, it was a big thing back in like the 90s when that was kind of the only way of doing things because you didn't have this technology around to make proper like in-engine cutscenes, but that's kind of faded now. So
I miss it. I think there's been a little bit of a resurgence, hasn't there, with like Wales Interactive. There's a lot of kind of FMV style games lately, so that's been great as well. But it has that kind of definitely a 90s feel to it. And then the actual visual side of the game, to me, it gives a kind of PlayStation 1 era vibe. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I'd say so. The inspiration was, it was kind of, what if I took PS1 game and then applied modern rendering techniques underneath that? So you'll notice a lot of the shadows and a lot of the kind of smoke lighting and all of this stuff is you would not run on a PS1, but that's all kind of underneath this kind of layer of PlayStation 1.
Yeah. So what are some of the challenges that you've experienced in development? Is there anything that you've really tried to implement and it's been a bit of a struggle, or has it been smooth sailing?
It's never smooth sailing. There have been a lot of things that had to be scrapped. Like there was a sequence in chapter 5 that got scrapped because I just didn't have time to implement it before that release. And then there were going to be a lot more enemies than there are as well, a lot more enemy types. There were going to be about 10, and that's whittled down to 4 now. Lots of things kind of being scaled down, and then lots of other things like I won't say who, but I did have to change out an actor quite late into the final chapters. No like falling out or anything, just because they couldn't make it work. Really lovely person though. And you stumble across these things, especially with like working with more people. More things can go wrong, but at the same time, it's such a brilliant experience working with more people. It's like, I wouldn't trade it for the world, but
no, hopefully you can work with them again in the future. I'm sure. Have you kind of set time constraints on yourself then in terms of like it has to be done by this date?
So I set a lot of time constraints on myself, and then I also set deadlines for like voice acting and that sort of stuff, which that's all fine because I leave plenty of room for them to do their stuff, and if I have to if they have to like move stuff back, I've still got time to put stuff in. But I make sure that I mean, there isn't really any crunch, but if there is any, it falls on me. I'm not stressing anyone else out.
And you're the sole developer of the game, right?
Yeah, basically. So I mean, it takes a village to make any game, but like pretty much, some of the artwork has been done by friends, and then obviously all the characters are voiced by different people. And then you have like testers and everything, and then I did write most of the soundtrack, but I had a friend help with some of the mixing on parts of it. And then another part of the soundtrack is an actual song that was written by a friend who plays a character in the game as well. So there's a lot of work that goes into it behind the scenes. But it's kind of mostly been me.
That's amazing, though. I was going to ask about the song actually, because it was quite a surprise to hear that at the end of the demo.
So that is sung by a good friend of mine called Taran Warmby. He's part of a band called Orca. It's a Welsh band based in Llantrisant. No, not Llantrisant. Nearby. It starts with Llan. It's gone from my mind. Llangan. That's it. Llangan.
Cool.
And they're just really lovely. They're great. That whole band. But this specific song is a rendition just made by him, and there's going to be a kind of complete version made by the whole band on an album that I think they're planning on releasing at some point. But it was just I was looking for some sort of song in that vein, kind of slightly cheesy, like kind of end song that is almost designed to be tonal whiplash from what just happens in that in that section. I was just asking around because weirdly I have a few friends who are in bands, and it's just like, this song's really good. Would you be okay if I used it? It's like, yeah, sure. So
nice. I think players might need a bit of relief from after playing it anyway.
Yes, that's the idea.
What have been some of the the highlights from development then, outside of all those challenges?
I mean, meeting Sam Lake was a big one because, you know, he was my hero for the longest time. I mean, still is. He's an amazing guy, but we're more just sort of friends now, which is such a weird thing to say because it's like this time last year, I never would have kind of believed of anything that's happened, but just kind of meeting people in the industry, especially voice actors, they're all lovely. You know, it's just been an incredible experience. The whole thing really, and just kind of seeing like friends play the game and seeing their thoughts on it. I'm really looking forward to seeing people's thoughts on the last 2 chapters. I'm very excited for that.
So what are the things that you're most proud of that you've achieved through the whole game?
That's a tricky one. I mean, there are lots of things. I think telling a complete story from start to finish, making a full-length game, because Voidside was only about an hour long, and the story was very, very bare bones. So this game, I think, runs about 5 hours. Maybe a bit longer. I'm not sure. It's very hard for me to say because I can speed through it in like an hour and a half. But people tend to take a lot longer. So I mean, it's been so brilliant. Just making a full-length game like that, and it's given me a lot of hope that I can do that again in the future. Hopefully with a much shorter development time, because a lot of the stuff in the Victor Initiative is kind of very hard-coded and not very modular, so it's quite hard for me to keep making more content. I have to very meticulously do that sort of stuff, which does have its benefits. I can very kind of tightly control things in the game, but the next project I'm working on is a lot more modular, so that's going a lot faster. But yeah, I mean, what else am I proud of? I think just that the atmosphere in the game as well is a big thing that I think I've really managed to nail that. So I'm hoping I can recreate that in the future as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. The atmosphere is it's spot on for sure.
Thank you.
So the game is out June. I don't know
June
if you officially publicly.
You know what it is, but yeah.
I'm sure by the time the interview goes out, it'll probably be out.
Yeah,
maybe.
But
June. Yeah. What do you want people to take away from playing this experience, the Victor Initiative?
There are a lot of takeaways from it, but I think kind of it's hard to say because I don't want to tell people what to think. But there's a real push for like Welsh culture and not letting it fizzle out. And I think the main takeaway is, you know, if you're interested in Welsh culture and you want to learn more about it, you know, do look into this stuff because it's really, really interesting and fun as well. So,
I think that's a beautiful thing for sure. Yeah, whether you're Welsh or not, then I think one of the cool things about any games that incorporate Welsh culture is that usually it's people from outside of Wales that take a massive interest in it because it's so unknown to them, so they want to learn more about it, and hopefully that'll be the same with your game.
I mean, it's funny. It's like to people who live in Wales, the Mari Lwyd is like a completely normal thing, and then you tell anyone who doesn't live in Wales about it, they're like, what? You do what every year? So just little things like that. No, it's a great thing for people to learn about.
And it goes a long way just for us as Welsh people too. So I appreciate you putting bits and pieces of Welsh culture in there. It doesn't matter what it is, even just the fact that you set it in Wales, whether it was by accident or not, it's just happened that way. It's a good thing ultimately. It makes us connect to that product in a different way, and I think that's something that I'm no developer, but I do want to see more games, that are set in Wales and have Welsh actors and characters and, have the Welsh language in there. It's important, isn't it? And we don't see it enough in games, but I feel like, with developers like you, it is on the rise a little bit. So
Yeah,
yeah, it is great to see.
it's good to see. I mean, looking to the future, my next game is well, yeah, okay, I can say that it's not set on Earth, so but I'm gonna try my hardest to get a bit of Welsh in there somewhere.
Planet Wales.
Yeah, yeah.
What are some of your, outside of the Victor Initiative, then, what are some of your favourite pieces of Welsh representation in games?
Well, I think the Souls series is a big one, because that completely took me off guard as well. You know, when a character just kind of says "Shumai" to you, you're like, "What?"
Yeah.
I kind of had to replay the dialogue to make sure I didn't just imagine that.
Yeah.
And you know, they really, really go for it. I love in Elden Ring as well. You've got Liurnia, which everyone there has a Welsh accent, and it rains all the time. It's just like, yeah.
I never thought about the rain all the time. Yeah, that makes more sense now.
But yeah, I'm really, because it's such a big franchise as well, and it's so amazing to have that Welsh representation. I think Assassin's Creed 4 as well, which is very relevant at the moment given the remake announcement. You know, the main character being from Swansea because the voice actor's from Swansea.
Yeah.
It is a brilliant thing. You know, you've got little jokes about kind of Wales in there as well. I think there's a character talking about how much he hates the English, and the guy goes, "Oh, you make a great Welshman."
Yeah, I know.
Those are some of my favorite examples. I mean, there are so many as well. I mean, the stuff that Copper is doing as well is really exciting with the department, because that's got so many eyes on it at the moment as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are examples that I had in my head and just forgotten now. But yeah, I mean, it's great to see.
Well, you've been marketing your game pretty hard as well. You know, the fact that it's all over everybody's Instagram feeds and everything. But you know, has that been difficult, or you know, is it just, you know, because you're doing well, it's working?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of soul crushing, honestly, marketing. Because as a developer, you just want to make your game, and then it's like, oh, you have to do all this work to get it seen. And yeah, it's been a real struggle getting eyes on the game. I mean, lots of people see the game, and then turning that into people playing the game is another thing. I think early access as well, people are hesitant to play a game when it's in early access. So hopefully the full reveal should be kind of the final blow. But it is, you just kind of day by day have to keep making this promotional material and thinking about it. And it takes a lot of time. And for a while, I did these videos kind of talking about the game, and I stopped doing them because it's like with the short videos, I'm sure you know, you just have to like make take after take. I mean, that's kind of probably the worst part of development. But getting that, and the trailer is going to be in the Horror Game Awards showcase on June 1st, and that's going to be streamed by IGN and GameSpot and Future Games Show. So hopefully that will get a lot of eyes on it then, and then I'll make an Instagram post kind of collaborating with Sam, who's been absolutely lovely for that, because I can just tag him in it, and he helps boost it a lot. So yeah,
I think having those actors on board as well, you know, I'm sure that's going to help get a bit more attention. Definitely. I'm sure it has done. Has it been hard trying to, I mean, for example, you mentioned IGN there. Is it difficult to try and get them to take notice of the game and put that trailer in there?
It's so thankfully the Horror Game Awards have kind of done all that for me, because it's very much a who you know thing. So I think next game I'll be a lot more equipped for all that, because I know a lot more people. You have to contact the journalists themselves rather than the whole conglomerate, because it gets lost in a sea of everyone else. But I mean, I'm lucky enough as well to be in contact with Lucy James, who's been absolutely lovely, from GameSpot, because I listened to her podcast, Frames Per Second. So I just messaged her on LinkedIn one day. I was like, "Hey, I really like your podcast. This is my game," and she was really enthusiastic about it. So
that's the way to do it.
Yeah, definitely about contacting the individual, and that's something I've kind of had to learn. And Harrison Abbott as well. I met at the Horror Game Awards last December, and he's been absolutely lovely as well. He writes for a horror magazine called Bloody Disgusting.
I read that. Yeah.
So yeah, he's been absolutely amazing as well. So yeah.
Cool. Well, what are the final hopes that you hope to achieve ultimately with the Victor Initiative?
There are lots of different hopes. I mean, I hope people play it and enjoy it. That's the main thing. I hope people get something out of it. You know, they feel something. That's kind of the main thing. On a more financial level, you know, it would be nice to be able to fund the next one as well, because at the moment they're kind of hobby projects.
Yeah.
And the end goal is to be able to make these things, you know, full time. But it takes a lot of time and money. I mean, the Victor Initiative has very much been made on a shoestring budget and on the generosity of other people.
Yeah.
So I recognize that, you know, I mean, not that there's a point where generosity runs out, but there is a point where I kind of owe it to people to you know, fund myself.
Yeah.
So
I see what you're saying. You feel like a bit of a responsibility in a way.
yeah. And then I mean, I just hope people have fun with it, really.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to see a little community grow around it. And again, like the Welsh thing, you know, get more awareness around Wales. I know that people often kind of hate it when this happens in their country, but if someone were to go to Eryri National Park, because they played the Victor Initiative, it's like, oh, it's the place from the Victor Initiative. I know it's like people kind of hate it when people do that sort of thing, but it would be nice at the same time, you know, even if one person were to do that. You know, it's one more person supporting local infrastructure. And,
yeah, definitely. No, I completely agree with you. You know, like, you know, people look at it as like, well, tourists or whatever, but it's a good thing because it is bringing more attention to the country, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best.
Thank you,
Jack, with the Victor Initiative. It's shaping up brilliantly.
Thanks.
And I can't wait to play the full game. So yeah, I can tell you've put an immense amount of work into it, but you can see it. You can see it, and I'm sure it's going to pay off. I'm sure it'll do great. So yeah,
it's been in development for over 2 years now, which is so weird because I could have sworn I started working on it like 6 months ago.
It's just gone so quick. Yeah. No, I hope it's going to do great, mate. And
thank you.
Yeah, it'll set you up for the next one for sure. But yeah, I can't wait to see it once it's fully released.
Yeah, I can't wait for people to see it either. I've just kind of been sitting on because a lot of the game's building up to the ending of the game, and I've just been sitting on the whole early access window, just kind of waiting for people to get there, because it's only then that I know if it's actually any good or not. Because I mean, you know, my friends say it's good, but yeah.
Do you feel that there are people really anticipating getting to that final chapter now?
I think so. There's a very kind of small following of the game that I really appreciate. They're really enthusiastic. And kind of, because chapter 5 as well is a bit mean. I ended it on a plot twist and a cliffhanger. So yeah,
it's got to be done, isn't it?
Yeah. So looking forward to seeing people's reactions to the conclusion, for sure.
Nice one. Well, Jack, pleasure to speak to you, mate, and yeah, all the best with the game.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure speaking to you too. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.